How are you?
Good. So yeah, welcome to your interview, I guess.
Thank
Um,
you.
so maybe start with telling me what your history and typology is.
So like just how I got into MBTI, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of took a test in 8 months ago or 9 months ago in like February, and I got INTJ. And at that point, I kind of started reading a bit more, and just the thing that got me super involved in it was like just one. Obviously, I was kind of in a peacocking state by seeing that I was an INTJ and kind of happy about that and getting everyone on board and trying to study this. But I really kind of saw it as a way to structure everyone and start seeing patterns in the real world and use that as a framework. And so from there, I kind of got really involved socially to get more data because I didn't really believe the 16 personalities, like all the descriptions. So I wanted to get people to tell me their type, and I can start analyzing and seeing the patterns for myself. So I guess I
Right.
felt responsible for Consume. So across my Consume journey, I discovered OP in April, May.
Mhm.
And from there, I started a huge discovery, like looking within and trying to really distinguish my type. But so I got my type in the end 2 months ago, October, but I haven't really branched out of typology except from OP. I
Except from
just,
OP, yeah. So you got originally in what, 16personalities.com, INTJ?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that's what I got
And
originally.
then what did you think you were when you came into OP?
Well, so my initial guess, so it's kind of whack to see myself guessing this, but I thought it was a double masculine, NITE, blast, sleep, consume, play. And
Bless,
so,
consume, play. Okay. Play
so
less.
basically Tim Ferriss, if you,
Right.
yeah.
Um, like I'm guessing you weren't too far off then?
Well, I'm audio, NEFI,
Oh,
consume,
wow.
play, sleep, blast. So I type myself almost exactly opposite.
Wow.
Yeah.
And does that type sit with you? Are you agreeing with it?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm agreeing
Yeah.
it with it. So there's like, however, I don't agree with the stereotype of the ENFP that's kind of thrown out there of the person who's very irresponsible and stuff like that.
Right.
But
Well, stereotypes exist for a reason, I guess, because of the bell curve, right? But like, I
mhm.
mean, there's always people on the outside of the bell curve. But
But the thing is that where there's an ENFP group chat where we're all talking, and
oh, cool.
we often wonder like where these stereotypes come from, because we don't really see ourselves in that perspective. um like
Of course you don't.
well, no, it's just
No,
that
even
they're,
even if it's wrong, even if it's wrong, like, but
yeah,
if it is right, you still wouldn't see yourself in that perspective, I think.
yeah, but it's just like we can see the part of it, but it's taken to an extreme. It's taken to like an extreme for like ENFPs will just go on a road trip and then they'll get lost. Their tire is broken and they're dead. Like that's the stereotype of the ENFP that like
That's
we
the
don't
stereotype.
resonate with.
That one
Yeah,
right there.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess
So
maybe we're sorry.
no, it's cool. I'm just joking around. So that, like, are you standard ENFP then, like NEFI?
Yeah, so
That's your type?
I'm the most in the middle ENFP because I'm
Oh, okay.
audio, I'm consume play sleep blast, like yeah, I'm
Okay,
very
blast.
common.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think you're similar to another
You've had
ENFP type. I think you might even be a
you've
twin type.
had Martin on video
Martin?
before,
Yeah.
and he's my exact type.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think you might have had another ENFP of my type as well before.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Mhm.
Um, so do you identify with feminine NE then?
Yeah, yeah, I don't punch people on the intuitiveness, and like there's like my observations will go anywhere and kind of spiral off very fast. And it's more that it's not that I see masculinity, it's more that I just see my masculine SI.
I see.
Just yeah. I had that nailed when I like studied myself, like, and did my own type. I saw my masculine sensory, and I saw my intuitive at the top. And so I've always had that feeling that I can't really do intuition, or that I'm bad at it compared to others.
What does that
I do
mean?
see a difference. Well, like, so in the fraternity I'm in, a lot of the guys are ENTPs, and they're a big majority of masculine NEs, so feminine sensories, and so
I see.
they're often just bubbling in on like intuition, and they're going very fast, and I'm able to keep up, but just they're able to stay and keep with an accuracy that I get lost in. So yeah, it's just a contrast of the ways we use NE.
Um, are you always looking at possibilities? Um, are you looking at like a spectrum of possibilities at all times? Is that what it feels like?
Yeah, so the way it works, the way I see it is like my masculine sensory will and my consume will kind of figure out all the information. So figure out like what are the details that can't be movable? What are the non-movable details? And then from there, based on the patterns I've seen before, I kind of narrow down a path, like a few paths, which I think the situation will take, or I'm guessing that it's just going to be within these guidelines based on the masculine sensory I've consumed.
Is it always in the moment?
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of like predictions before. Like, I was very into trying to guess the future leaderships of this fraternity for next year, because that was a big thing with who was going to be president, who was not going to be, and so I was constantly looking 3 or 4 months ahead. So in that perspective, that's why I thought I was NI, just because I
Yeah.
try to see patterns very far and play out situations.
Well, like as any, you should be doing NI to some extent. Like you should be able to go deep a little bit
Mhm.
on the. It would just feel wrong to do it. I mean, it would feel like you were betraying the possibilities by narrowing down on a single one.
Yeah.
Is that what it feels like?
Yeah, I can't really say for sure. Like I'm always like, for example, us NE friends, we usually have a thing where sorry, I just completely lost my train of thought. Just then. Uh kind of
What
please
it
remind
feels
me what I
like,
was talking about. Sorry.
friend.
Friend. Yeah. Okay, that's not enough for bring back the pattern. That's okay.
All right.
That's okay. But yeah, that's
Um,
probably feminine NE
maybe
right there.
I'll ask the question again. So,
Okay.
I asked if sorry, I made a comment that it would be harder for you to pick one single possibility. You basically betraying
Yeah.
betraying
I
the many possibilities by picking a single one.
yeah, I don't take anything for certain until it happens. And so I'm constantly playing with 30 possible or 10 possible events before I can narrow down into one.
So you see it collapsing, like you see all of the possibilities basically collapsing down to a single event all the time.
It's less collapsing. It's just the events could take 10 possible routes, and I just see one getting taken. Therefore, 9 are not.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're aware of the other 9 that could have been taken that just didn't happen?
Yeah, but they usually just are gone the second an event takes place. Like they have no value. It's now thinking about the future.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. Um, can you remember sometimes those patterns that you had? Those other possibilities?
Yeah, because I remember like through a timeline, I remember what events have happened at that point, and so I'm
Right.
able to kind of go back and um,
Re-render them.
yeah, it's replay the situation. Kind of like if it's a computer program, I just press play again, and all the variables come in, and then a result pops out, and I'm just
Uh-huh.
telling that to people.
Do you think that your past experiences help to mold the way you see possibilities in the moment?
Yeah, I think I've even though I'm 20, I've had a lot of life experience just from a lot of play energy. So I've seen a lot of patterns, and also I've moved around 4 times and different continents every time. And so I've kind of gotten a grasp of different schools, different people. So at least for my age group, I'm really starting to see patterns in a more abstract, dimensional way than others are kind of seeing a more binary, singular coin. That was completely abstract. Sorry.
No, it's not that it was abstract. It's that uh, I'm trying to gauge at. I'll just be honest. I'm trying to gauge at
Yeah.
how much is BS and how much is like really, really going on. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, for sure. Okay. I'll try to be more concrete for the
No,
future.
it was concrete enough. It's just I was just wondering if that's really what's happening or if that's just sort of like your perception of what's going on.
It could also be my perception, but I'm
Yeah.
mostly I was using terms that have been told to me
Right.
by others. So that multidimensional aspect of looking at things is something that people constantly
Yeah.
talk to me about and saying, hey,
But do you feel that too? You feel that as well?
well, no, because that's the way I see it. And therefore, to me, that's my default. And so I see it when others talk in a more simplistic way. And then I'm like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I also see things in how I tend to overcomplicate situations and overthink them.
What about freedom? Is that something that's important to you?
Yeah, I didn't really realize how important it was until recently. Like my family lives in France, and so I'm in Canada right now. And a big reason why I left is just because I hated the fact that they had power over me. Like I hated the fact that like
Oh wow.
they they could like tell me, no, you can't do this or like etc. And like even completely separating our environments mean I can be the person I want to be here without being limited by the personality they know me as.
Oh, limited by personality. Like you want to branch out in personality, be more you, I guess. Be
Yeah,
closer to your identity.
where it's more like I mold myself to whatever situation I'm in, just to I kind of I understand the person they want to talk to, and I'm trying to get to the information that they're trying to give me. So I will try to become the person they want me to be, so I can get that information. However, if there's people that know me as a different me in the room or something, then I can't mold myself. I have to stick with the personality I'm at. So it's harder for me to play personality mind games with people when okay sorry.
Yeah. Um, that no, I'm just telling. I'm going to tell you what my thought process is.
You
The
go
whole
for it.
time it was I was thinking about FE in that context because that's something with people who have maybe a lower FE in their stack sort of feel.
Yeah,
So that's interesting that you would say it like that. Um,
I'm taking that from the perspective that I have my introverted functions are masculine and my extroverted functions are feminine. So my extroverted world can be whatever I want it to be. It's why a lot of my type are in the entertainment industry, specifically actors.
yeah,
And every time they do a different movie, they're a very different character. For example, if you have you seen Breaking Bad?
yeah,
So Jesse, he's my exact type.
okay.
And if you see him three different movies, you'll see, and him in interviews, he'll talk about how he's just interested in learning to be a different person. And so
Hmm.
that's one part which I think other type twins have also said in interviews and stuff that we all relate to. And
Does
so
that
it's
also
not
relate
FE.
to double deciding for you, like the ability to see just be who the tribe wants you to be in a certain way?
Yeah, yeah, I would see that. Um, so when I say I change personality, I am FI, so my values do stick.
And it's masculine FI. It's like a
Yeah, so
solid identity. Yeah.
yeah, so I know I don't lose myself completely when I'm with people, and I keep my values usually. So like even though these guys in the fraternity go to sleep at 2, 3 a.m., I'll go to sleep at 12 every day. I don't drink, and I'm very
It's a masculine SI too there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that combination works well. But just when I am with people, um, I become who they want me to be to a certain extent.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll get into that. So what about limiting your options? Do you like to keep your options open at all time? Like, is it hard for you to choose a single, like you chose computer science, right? Was it hard for you to choose computer science? Like, was that
Yeah.
limiting yourself in some way, or
Yeah, it really was. And even right now, it's because I'm in third year university. I have to think about what I want to do in the future, and it's really hard for me to commit and say yes, I will do this, and kind of choose an orientation like that way. And so I'm
does it feel like you're losing possibilities by choosing things?
well, yes and no. So yes, it does feel that way, but I'm kind of looking at it from the angle that I know this is a false kind of mindset.
Okay,
And I was really inspired by one of the OP classes recently with Cal Newport. And so they
right,
talk about like instead of finding your passion, just getting good at something. And so that's what my plan has been recently, to just focus on computer science, just get super good at that, and life will take me somewhere else that way. Like I'm
mhm,
not scared that I'm going to be stuck on the CS path for my whole life, but
right.
I just know that I have to go forward.
Does it feel like maybe you might be in computer science your whole life, or you're not a
No,
no?
no, there's no way.
There's no way. All right, that's
Yeah,
interesting. Um, so the opposite side of that coin is going to be the structure in your life, and maybe your connection to reality and things like that. Like, do you see that as a failing, a shortcoming, something you struggle with?
yeah. My second year in university was very hard for me because I didn't have anything to ground me with, and I wasn't interested in school, so I didn't go to any classes. I didn't really do all of that, and but so I've had to set up a lot of systems for me to stay grounded. So like I'll have habits every day that I have to do, and like it'll involve like watching a video about the news, for example, just to make sure that I know what's happening. It'll make sure I'll talk to my friends, making sure that I know kind of the schedules they're on and be included in events. So
Mhm.
I've had to work on that.
Have you struggled with keeping schedule or that sort of thing in the past, even though it's a masculine sensory?
Um, I'll keep a schedule well, and I'll be on time, and I'll do everything except because I'm not very well organized, I just don't take on new things. And so I'm able to keep my schedule, but the schedule is just very small and I don't do much. So the more organized I am, the more stuff I add to my schedule, and then I'm always able to fulfill my schedule. But it just I'm
What about in terms of variety? Does it feel like everything is interesting to you, that you like, maybe the reason you weren't successful in school last year was because too many other things were interesting and you couldn't sort of focus on school? Or
um yes and no. Um I have a hard time seeing my consume last year specifically.
right,
Um,
like you weren't off
but
consuming something else instead of consuming schoolwork?
yeah, I was very involved in a relationship and trying to figure that
Uh,
person out. Um, and we kind of lost touch of reality, being two people just kind of being stuck together.
right, yeah. Yeah, that
So
happens.
yeah,
It won't be your last time.
yeah, probably not.
Yeah. Um, so okay, so what about that masculine FI then? Are you aware of your I don't know, what matters to you? What's important?
Yeah, so that's an important distinction. I'm very aware of what is important to me and what I want, but I'm not aware of my feelings. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. So
So
what's important to you?
what's important to me is helping people. Just I know that sounds like peacocking, but it just like I'm just what's important to me is fulfilling my potential, and my potential is doing as much as I can for the people on this earth that have made my presence here welcome.
Hmm. Is that something that you've always felt, or is it something that you've sort of coming to now?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of started closing in now. I think that I don't really have a tribe to help specifically,
Okay.
because I've moved around all my life, and I usually let go of my friends the second I move country.
Right.
And because of the weird power vibe that my parents have over me, I'm not even super close to them either, even though I'm trying to fix that. So my tribe is humans in general. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's kind of a twisted way of helping and seeing life. I push myself a bit
Um,
hard.
do you get sometimes stuck on conflicts with people?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like what kind of stuck do you get?
Um, well, I'll be kind of loosey in terms of like, no, I won't be very direct with people. Like they'll I'll kind of keep it in, and I've got a very cat-like energy, so I kind of get stuck on the once in a while where I kind of hit back at the tribe. That's why I thought I was masculine DE, because I I was getting stuck on my head about the times that I've been violent with people. Like I remember very clearly the one time I've punched someone when I was playing soccer and when I was 10, and
Right.
then it's a big for recently in the fraternity there was something where I roasted someone and they didn't take it well, and they're making it a very big deal, and to me it makes me panic because I want everyone to like me, and so yeah, I do get stuck with people in conflicts, and I try to stay away from drama.
What is rage or anger or frustration like a natural, like is that something that comes up a lot? Like you feel you have masculine feelings?
Yeah, I a year or two ago I was stuck for maybe 2 years in just a rage um, state. Like I couldn't get out of it. I was mad at the world. I was just giving up on everything. Um, and yeah,
Can you go into why?
yeah. So I kind of had a rough past in France in my high school where I had big. I was very controlling with my ex, and she was not the best at dealing with it because she would tell me, "Yeah, don't worry, I'll do this," and then she'd go and do the opposite. So I was very controlling, by the way, on sensory things like not smoking, not seeing a particular friend, and
Uh-huh.
so that's why I thought it was a controlling IJ, by the way.
Right.
And one day I kind of just blew up, and this was in front of the whole school, and I kind of was waving my hands around, and someone thought I had hit her, and so that rumor got spread, so people were saying I was a monster at school, so that was all amplified in my head, but because of that I kind of was very disconnected from my school and everyone there for those
Is
2 years.
is that something that like you've come to terms with now? Is it something that was like really hard for you at the time?
Yeah, I've come to terms with it, but because my mind is like, okay, well, this tribe didn't work, so I'm just going to go look for a new tribe and learn to deal with them. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, that's where my EP-ness comes out.
Is that like a reoccurring pattern that maybe the tribe comes out against you in certain situations, or that's just like a one-off, one-time thing?
Yeah, that's like, sure, they've come off, like the tribe has come at me, but it's more been individuals rather than a full, like
Right.
more than 10 people at least. So that's the
Right.
only example I can think of that.
So, like, I'm wondering how stuck you got on it, or were you able to just shake it off?
Um,
Because
it's
like that's
hard.
a big thing, right?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Like I got really stuck on it in terms like it stopped a lot of things in my life. And for me, I acted like my life was on pause until I moved away.
Right.
So looking back, I would say I lost those 2 years.
What do you mean by lost?
Um, Lost as in I'm at an age where everyone's trying to go out there and trying to find figure out what they want to do in the future, and they're building skills and stuff like that. And even though I was developing skills, I wasn't developing the right skills, or the skills that I'm now trying to like, the skills that I'm now looking back and like, wow, I really wish I had this at this point, because people at university already know this stuff. Yeah, but
do you think maybe you were developing other skills that might be equally as important during those 2 years, like, or it was really just lost?
Well, I'm sure to a certain, I gained some skills, right? There's no way you can go 2 years without consuming anything if you're consume first. But the skills I was learning were, okay, so no, I did learn. I got a big passion of design back then, because I got big into this video game, which I got to be a professional at, and I went to a tournament in Paris, came fourth, all that stuff.
Cool.
And
you want to share the name of the game?
Clash Royale. Yeah.
Clash. Okay, it's like a cell phone game, right?
So that's a mobile strategy game where everything happens very fast paced, and the aim is to give more damage than you take.
Okay.
And so at that point, when my parents were seeing how much time I was spending into this game compared to work, and so they said, okay, you can go to this tournament, but after that you stop playing this game. So I did, wow. But I still felt like I still had a tribe with these guys. And so to be useful, I learned to design. I learned to use these tools to be able to still be in the community. And so from there, I started learning design. And so, yeah, I would say I've learned that skill. Like,
it doesn't seem like, the way you told the story, it doesn't seem like you were too agitated about your parents controlling you and telling you what you couldn't do.
I was at the point where I was realizing how much time I was spending at this game. I was practicing.
So it was limiting your freedom too. You saw it too then.
Yeah, I was practicing with American teams at 2 a.m. It got ridiculous.
Right.
So it was ruining my life more than it was helping at that.
I see. Do you have any habits, or how hard is it for you to form new habits?
So I know I've studied habits a lot recently because I've been developing systems. That's what my whole YouTube channel is actually about, habits and how to develop them and stuff like that. And so I'd say habits come quite easy to me, mostly because I understand the science behind it. And I understand that shaping your environments can make you, to do your habits is super easy if you just control your environment properly. So I wouldn't say I have any difficulty on that. I have a difficulty getting trapped in bad habits. That I would say.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like this Clash Royale thing, you were able to just drop it, or was it gradual, or how hard was it?
It was very overnight. Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of habits did you struggle with changing then?
Well, it's more like an individual video game. Like I know my responsibilities, so it's more like I'll have my responsibilities. So let's say school, because most of my life it's been school, and then I'll have something else on the side, such as either it'll be a video game that I'm interested in, or it'll be a friend that I'm super interested in understanding, or it'll be OP or something. And what'll happen is I'll get way into that, and because I'll get way into trying to learn that, whatever that is, my responsibilities all go away. So everything that takes me away from my responsibilities, which is school, getting stuff done, and being responsible to other people, that's everything that takes me away from that. I call it a bad habit.
Mm-hmm. I'm getting a lot of thinking from you. Maybe it's just because I'm forcing you into that mode but it seems like you're really explaining logic. Like you're speaking a very logical language.
My girlfriend thought I was a thinking type, and it was absolutely absurd when I came out as a feeling type.
You also thought you were thinking when you thought you were INTJ and stuff.
Yeah. I couldn't see the feeling side.
That's interesting too. Do you want to tell me how you see truth?
Yeah. Interesting. That's very, very broad. Do you want to specify that at all, or no?
However you see it. If you want to specify it, specify it.
I mean, I see truth can take different angles. It can take the truth of your identity. It can be the truth of the sensory. Um,
Yeah.
for me, truth is more about not hiding information, which is a very ENFP thing for me to
Yeah.
say. But yeah, that to me is truth. Just constantly being a clean slate. Like you can tell anyone anything. That to me is like a truthful person. Or I mean, truth is
Truthful
just
person.
anything that doesn't defy reality or lead you to think that reality is different.
Than it actually is.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's how I define it.
Okay. It didn't seem like it was a demon state that you went in order to answer the question either. But you didn't really get too much into thinking when you answered it. So,
So what are you thinking from that?
oh well, let's keep going. So okay, so what about control of the government and legislation and things like this? How do you feel about that?
Um, yeah, I've given that a big deal of thought. Like, I agree. I I don't know much about legislations and rules. They often just slip my mind. But because of that, I take a very conservative approach to the way I act in terms of if I'm not sure that it's illegal, I'll just stay very clear away from it rather than going and researching the rules and playing with them. Also, when the laws I do know, oh, by the way, the reason why I don't have that much good law knowledge is because I've constantly moved around, and so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
hard to like really
I'm just wondering
understand.
how
Like,
you feel about it in general.
yeah,
The fact that
but
government can make laws on us and
I see rules as
without our
guidelines.
choice.
I see them as
Guidelines.
guidelines that you understand. Your job is to understand the rules and understand what they're trying to do with this rule, and not go against that. But
Uh,
like for example, like in Canada, you're not allowed to jaywalk. You're not allowed to cross the road. Uh,
well,
yeah,
technically, yeah.
when there's no cars. But like
Right,
from coming from France, I've done it all the time, and so
right.
it's weird for me not to do it. But I
I'm
understand that
pretty
they,
sure in Canada it's lax there too. There's some
yeah,
countries where it's way more strict.
but it's still,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure there's more strict, but it's still like people like will see you jaywalk and suddenly it's, oh my god, you jaywalked, and I kind
Right.
of always make fun of them for that. But I
I don't think
understand.
I've ever seen anyone get a ticket in Canada for jaywalking.
I haven't either. I've heard
Yeah.
stories, but never seen it.
Yeah?
No, I've never seen it. No.
You've heard stories like people
Yeah,
getting tickets from the police for
yeah,
jaywalking? Wow,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Not
interesting.
anyone I know, but yeah. So
Okay.
who knows the validity of that? But yeah, so I understand that that rule for me is more like they don't want you to create an accident by just rushing across the road. So I take that as okay, that's what you don't want to happen. So if there's no cars, then I will cross. But if there's a car and I won't cross because don't want to be breaking the rule of what you're trying to enforce with that rule. If that makes any
Yeah.
sense.
No, it makes perfect sense, and I'm still getting a lot of thinking from you. A lot of logic. Like you have to, if there's no car, and that also like it also might have to do with your computer programming background because lots of if else statements and things like that there. But I mean, still, you're talking in the language of logic.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Um, tell me about things that are taboo. Do you know what taboo means?
No, not really.
Like things that aren't socially acceptable. Like for example, like on a light level, like tattoos and swearing, and on like a heavier level, maybe like people, I don't know, people expanding their lip with rings and things like that. I don't know. It's
Hmm.
like weird things that just aren't acceptable in society. How do you view them?
Um, my personal perspective, if someone wants to do that, I can't really stop them, and that they can do whatever they want.
Right.
But for me, until something becomes socially acceptable, I kind of refuse to do it. I just like I don't like. I'd rather blend in with the crowd more than and stand out by my personality rather than stand out physically. So anything that's physically taboo, I'm not into.
Okay. Why don't you want to stand out?
Because if you're standing out, people are looking at you, and you can't be looking at them. And um, I I like studying the relationship of between people, and for that to happen, I have to be invisible, so I'm not disturbing the environment that I'm trying to study. But if I'm a visible person who people are looking at then and trying to talk to me, then it makes it very hard for me to understand what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, also there's a perspective that from a long, like if you want to talk about specifically about tattoos, I have a fear of tattoos in terms of in the long run. Like, how do I, like, I'm gonna have this tattoo. How is a potential employer gonna react to this? How is a family gonna react to this? Like, I don't want to feel self-conscious about it, and also I just, my body's a temple to a certain extent. So
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah. I had another question going, but I'm just not good at remembering the questions I have.
that's okay.
Um,
Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
uh, Go for it. Let's do one
I
or
mean,
two.
I'm just curious about your type, because you sent me by text that you are an ISTP, but you don't agree with your animals.
It's not that I don't know if I agree or not. It's just not my experience. And I think animals work really well for a lot of people. And then for others, animals don't match.
Okay.
So I got my animals are consume, play, blast, according to OP.
Okay.
Yeah. And the sleep blast thing is sort of phasing me because I don't generally like to process out in the open. I do all my processing behind
Within.
closed doors, secretly, silently. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
but
I don't see a sleep last in you, but I
well,
don't see anything else last. So I'm also, I don't know you well enough to say anything.
right, yeah. But I mean, yeah. Um, I think we'll just go a little bit into the system. I think the system is really good and promising overall. And I think there's a little more nuances than like the system's very strict and rigid, and there's a little more nuances than what the system allows for, I think.
That's an
Um,
interesting perspective. I've
yeah,
never really heard that before. Yeah.
yeah, and it's not everybody. Some people fit the type fits them. Like you can really tell, like A, B, C, and
Yeah.
done.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, do you feel like you always have reasons for how you behave? That there's always a reason behind a cause, a logical cause, maybe?
When someone asks me, why did you do this?
Yeah,
I will never feel comfortable saying because I felt like it.
right,
So if whether I have a reason or I don't, I'll make one up or I'll say my reason. But
right.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Same here. Um, how are you with contradictions? Um,
what kind of contradictions?
Contradictions between how people behave and how they say they are, or contradictions between I don't know, like paradoxes, people saying two things that are true but can't both be true at the same time.
Yeah, that does cause a problem with me. Um, for
Does
me,
it
there's,
bother you? Is it something that's intriguing to you?
well, yeah, it does intrigue me because those are the kind of people I'm always fascinated by. The people who have two truths and I can see they're conflicted, and it's very interesting to see how they deal with that confliction. Especially because to the outside world, it's so simple. Um, I I probably have contradictions within myself, but I believe in my actions and my words are the same. So I try to stay very
Authentic.
authentic. Yeah, that's my main thing. I will constantly roast people for being inauthentic, and
Even though you're saying, like, so there's a contradiction here from the beginning where you're saying you try to match yourself and be someone, whoever you want to be,
mhm.
which is the definition of not being authentic, I guess. How do you
Yeah.
resolve that?
Um. So I think maybe we'll define how I become who the other person wants me to be. It's more I'll understand their energy, and I'll understand what role they want me to play. So do they want me to play a caretaker? Do they want me to play a blaster? Do they want me to play whatever? So for example, my girlfriend, or my ex, I would blast a lot to her because I could see the contradiction with her. And so she was just confirming myself because I would blast to her a lot. And so she saw me as a blast first,
Yeah, I'm
because
not
of
getting blast last from you. Just putting that out there right now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because I, to me, to you, to everyone in the group, when I shared my video, no one saw blast last. They saw sleep blast, consume play, maybe they saw DI, they saw fight, whatever. But Dave and Shan opened up my video and barely watched anything, and they were like, "Yeah, we've seen this before." 5 minutes after, we were confirming that you're this type. So
Interesting. Okay.
uh,
um, okay, what do you, is it important, do you think, that people should agree with each other? How do you see disagreements?
yeah, I think everyone should be on the same page.
Yeah. Um, is it difficult for you that people are disagreeing?
Yeah, like yeah, especially if I have flawless logic and someone's just absolutely elsewhere. I'm like, everything is pointing towards this. Like, we can't move on if you're like elsewhere. If you're not on the same page, if you're not agreeing, if you're not seeing what we're seeing, then you can't follow. So you have to make a choice. Either you jump to our side or you jump off.
Huh. Well, okay, so one thing is for sure, the whole time is I'm seeing intuition above sensing. Like, this is
Yeah.
just, even though your authority comes from the facts, comes from the sensing, like, you're always talking about your understanding and how you're responsible to understand and stuff like that. So that's like really clear. Um, the NE versus NI, I'm hearing your descriptions and stuff. I'm just not, I haven't really seen that coin, especially since you said you could be like really controlling. So it's just the thing with the routine just leads me to see that you have SI in your stack. How, like, you have the routine and you have no problem um, making habits, changing your habits, and yeah. So like the SI is there, and so that's why I do think NE might be accurate, right? Even though I'm not getting overwhelmed by your NE. It's not something that's just, opening up all of these topics and tangents and things like that, where some other NE might end up doing that.
Mhm.
Um, I'm seeing FETI on your axis, which is interesting. And I would like to ask a few more questions just to be sure. But
Yeah, go for it.
yeah, but especially in the way you're saying that that you behave, you have a different personality for different people, sort of thing. Someone with FI, that especially masculine FI, would be like authentic and not changing who they are. I would think. And it's FE is more someone who's adaptable to the to like this is just anecdotes and stereotype land, but yeah. Um, And then the way you talked about disagreements, you spoke about disagreements like if a TE user would speak about disagreements between two people, between ideas, and not get personal about the ideas and about the logic. And you brought it right away to your logic, to like, this is the logic, this is what I see as true, and if you're disagreeing with it, and like, and like it's really solid and you're not coming with something solid, then go over there, sort of thing. Like that, what you were saying is like you're talking really about, I was seeing at least TI, and then yeah, so I'm just giving you a little bit of feedback from what I was seeing so far. And like who am I? I'm just some guy that interviews people, but I mean,
No, that's interesting.
yeah. So how about this way? Does something have to work for it to be true, or can something be true even though it doesn't work?
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes it works. And
If something works, does it have to be true? Or does it even matter if it's true or not?
I'm struggling to link this to any example that I can really build off of.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know how to take that answer.
Okay. Are you interested in what works? Like, is that something that's interesting to you? Something that works, or is it? Are you more? I don't know.
Well, I think that's one of the coins to it. I think it has to work, and it has to please people.
It's to please people.
Like to me, I'm seeing it from a very double decided perspective.
I see that. Yeah.
So it's not, yeah, like if people like it and it doesn't work, then I'll make it work so that people enjoy it more. And if it works but people don't enjoy it, I'll put flowers on it so people like it too.
Okay. What about if it's not your responsibility to make the thing work or make it or whatever?
Okay, so that's actually an interesting question because so recently I've had this kind of new venture project for school where we had to develop a product, and the big problem was that it wasn't working, and I was very involved in that process and trying to understand what are the different possibilities that of like scenarios so that they can make this work, and so that next time I bring this to the people, the feedback is positive. But that could not necessarily be from a I have to make it work perspective, but more from a I want to seem responsible to the tribe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very hard for me to see the distinction between my two middle functions.
Yeah. Um, okay. Let's say there was a system that was disconnected from reality. It's just a system that talks about fairies and demons, okay? And people are using the system and it's giving them good results. But it doesn't seem like it's true, right? So is it okay that people are using the system even though it's not true? Like they're just using it, but it's giving them good results?
They can use it. I won't,
Yeah. You won't. Why won't you use it? Even
because
though
I
it'll
have
work and it'll help, it might even help you succeed in life.
like it's kind of an NF question in a certain extent, or at least it can be taken that way. But just for me, I just have to like there has to be data behind it.
Okay, so say there's data. Say all these people are succeeding in life, okay? But they're using like this system that obviously isn't true to
Yeah,
get there.
I'd have a problem with that. I need to get to the bottom of it before I can do that. Like that's why I was able to really push on OP, because I had the strong belief that it was scientific and that
Hmm.
I could actually be using this as a universal system to type people. And like a big part of me is kind of disappointed in that. I know this is like I feel like this is a scientifically valid system, and when I bring it to people with that regard, I'm being shut down as an NF hippie. and so that's why like I would never be able, like, people already don't take NF seriously. So for me to actually do NF, it has to be ST.
Yeah. Well, because you're using type language here, so I mean, I'm okay. Anyway, yeah. So thanks for sharing your type. So you have a YouTube channel. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can put the link in the description and stuff.
yeah, that's cool.
Okay.
Yeah. My YouTube channel is basically where I share my discoveries and how the stuff that I do to help me go from kind of the irresponsible person who didn't really go into classes last year and who was constantly in this any land without sensory. And so I've learned a lot about how to get myself grounded and get myself productive. And as David and Chan say, it's you kind of the people who come and teach you the stuff they've learned as their demons are kind of have a more interesting aspect to it. So I'm trying to be that's my goal is to be the SI guru, but who's had to learn it, kind of like the equivalent of what alphas would be.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I try to aspire on my channel. Is just a very genuine walkthrough of my discoveries.
And your discoveries have to do with habits and forming habits and
Yeah, habits, productivity, kind of like theory of how you can trick your brain to make you do stuff.
mm-hmm. And okay, and you have anything else that you do you want to promote, or that it's maybe something about your type that you want to say to other people that are watching? Yeah.
No, not
No.
really. I guess yeah, just
Cool,
there's
man.
many ways to take this. Yeah.
Yeah. So awesome to meet you. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you for
And
interviewing
have a
me.
good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye,
All right.
YouTube. So someone put a comment that that like at first they were hating my endings and because they were just so awkward, and then now they just look forward to the endings because they're so horrible and cringe. So I mean, we'll just end on that, I guess.
All right. Well, I
Anyway,
love that one viewer.
yeah. No, I see 12 there in the thing. So
Oh, this is a live?
yeah, it's live. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's okay.
Yeah. No one really asked any questions, so I didn't put up any of the questions, but sometimes they ask questions. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, thank you so much again. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.